was my first classes that I had. I had a Bible literature class with Jeff Bennett, and then I had the contemporary literature class for Bible studies with Dan Wateridge. And there was no way I could just like not listen to everything that they were saying in the class, but I actually started listening. I always wrestled with the questions of like, who made the world and how the first person got here. When I got to Jeff's class, and one day he was like, we were in the book of Genesis, and he was like, so yeah, God made the land and the sea this day, and then on the last day he rested or whatever. And I was like, hold on, that's how the world was made or whatever? And I didn't believe him at first, but I went home and I actually started reading the book of Genesis, and that book of Genesis helped me realize how the first person was made and how this whole world was made and everything in it. I'm not gonna lie, that's like the first little thought that I had of being this God is like actually like Mr. Wateridge's class. He taught us how to read the Bible and how to study the Bible, and he basically taught us that we are not alone. He showed us videos and stuff of how people were lost and then they found their ways and stuff. And I was just always like trying to be one of those people. So that's how God started seeking into my life. So I was just working one day and I decided to like cut grass for just like people's yards in the neighborhood. And I decided to knock on this one lady's door. I knocked and then I just like stepped off of the porch and turned around and I was just waiting on them or whatever. And the people and the dogs got silent or whatever. So I knew that they knew that they knew that I was on their porch. And I knocked again after like 30 seconds because no one came to the door and I was just trying to like cut their grass. And right before I was about to knock, somebody just started yelling at me and they took their phone out and started recording me through the window like, get off my lawn, what are you doing here or whatever, and they were actually cussing me out. That week, at the beginning of that week, I was reading in the Bible. I read like certain ways to react to act in situations when people are being mean to you and stuff. I started learning ways to like get yourself out of that and like, instead of like actually fighting the conflict, just like look at ways to get out of that, whatever. So it took a lot for me to get back in my car after he was literally saying everything he was saying and stuff, and something told me to just start snapping on him. But another thing told me after what I had read in the Bible that day was that if I don't snap on him, maybe something better would happen. Something just told me to cut one more yard. After that happened, I knocked on a lady's door and I was actually able to cut her yard. And this is a week later. My phone was blowing up and it's this lady, Molly, and she was like, hey, how are you? Are you okay? And stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'm good. And she told me that the guy that yelled at me when I was just trying to cut his grass, he had posted on that app and was like, there's this black guy coming up to people's doors and he came up to my door in a very demanding entry, like he wanted in. He stumbled across my yard, strutting back and forth, and have anyone seen this man? And under that post, it was like 300 comments, and people were like, if I see that kid, I'll do something to him. I'll have the cops waiting on him. One person even said that I'll have a gun waiting for that kid if I see him. And then Molly, she literally had to make a post herself and show that I cut her grass and I went up to her yard to literally cut grass like a nice person. And she posted that video, and that video basically went viral, and everyone started getting at that one person that posted that mean post about me. That was the first time in my life I ever tried to like dodge conflict. When that guy was yelling at me, I was gonna like fight back, but I told him straight, I was like, you know what, bro? I'm gonna be a nice person and get back in my car and I'm not gonna do anything. And when Molly posted that video of me, that video went viral of people like, who is that guy? Like, I need him to cut my yard. I had just opened up like my own LLC and washing cars and cutting grass, and my business started going crazy, and like, that was a huge blessing for me. So I was I got put in a situation this summer. I was with this woman, and she was like, she was my girlfriend, but then they ended up breaking up with me out of nowhere. I got put in this apartment to where I have to pay $13 every month or whatever by myself. I was doing it like for the first 3 months or whatever. I had all of my savings from my summer money and from my jobs and stuff. And then like after football season, right after football season, I noticed that I had used my last little portion to pay my bills. So one day I noticed that like, if I don't have this amount of money in 2 weeks, I might be kicked out of this apartment. And that 2 weeks came, and I was in that position. And that 2 weeks, I had 2 days. It was a Monday, and I had 2 days to pay $13 in order to live in this apartment or whatever. When the apartment people called me, they basically told me straight up, like, hey, you got 2 days or else we gotta do something. You gotta find something else to live or whatever. They called me, I'm not gonna lie, I broke down because it's just only me up here. I don't have no family or whatever. And for my whole life, I always told myself that I wanna do everything and accomplish everything myself. One thing that I did like think of and knew that I could do was pray. I'm not gonna lie, I did not want to pray because I was crying and I was very emotional or whatever, and I was just like, bro, if I just get on my knees right now and do that, that wouldn't even like do anything for me. But I started thinking of everything that I read in the Bible and stuff, and I was like, I mean, I didn't read that for no reason, and I was just crying and stuff, and I was like, maybe if God can actually like help me in this time, he probably will. So I was crying, and I got on my knees and I just prayed. And that was the first time I ever got on my knees and like prayed. After I did that, I felt a little better and I stopped crying. And that next morning, I got ready or whatever, and I was gonna go to school. And I was locking my door, and next thing you know, Miss Templeton called me. And Miss Templeton called me, and she had some very good news for me. And I was like, I'm trying to hear that news. Like, tell me what's up. And she was like, there's this guy, his family, some of his family members passed away, and they gave him some money, and they just wanted to give some of that money to one of the students at the college. And this guy knew you and was trying to find you or whatever. And I was like, who is this guy? This guy, I met him, and I met him during the summer when I was just cutting a random yard. From that, I met him, and I didn't even think of him from that day. He just had extra money to give, and he remembered me from the summer, and he actually gave me some money to pay my bill that next day. And I'm not gonna lie, that was a huge blessing for me, because I did not think that me getting on my knees, that anything would happen. The next morning, that happened, and I was like, okay, hold on, like, I really think God is like working. Like, I was like, okay, so if I just know that you're here, I should be okay. So that next day, I get my bills paid or whatever, and then I was having a great week. I'm not gonna lie, I was having a great week.